This is Dr. Chris's Radio Horror Show at 91.3 FM, WCUW in Worcester, as well as on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. And tonight on the show with us, returning to the show, one of my co-conspirators on the In Search of Darkness 80s horror documentary, we have Jessica Dwyer on the show with us, a editor, writer, producer, talk show kind of geek girl, right?
Fangirl. I am an
fangirl.
unabashed fangirl of all things awesome.
But what was the name of your show? It was Fangirls, right?
It's Fangirl Radio, and it's called Fangirl Magazine is my online webzine. So, but yeah, Fangirl Radio. Check us out. We're on iTunes. So.
And tonight we're talking about Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the new Netflix series which debuted this past Friday, which coincidentally enough also actually debuted the same time as Castlevania Season 2.
Yes.
So I haven't watched Castlevania yet.
Too.
I gotta watch that.
You haven't seen the first season?
No, of course I have. Yes, I'm a huge Castlevania fan. In fact, Castlevania heavily influenced my version of Dracula, and I have a Castlevania tattoo on my arm.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm gonna have to hit you.
No. I watched them.
To hit you from afar.
It took us an hour. We thought we were gonna be watching Castlevania for maybe 4 hours, and then we finished it an hour and a half the summer it came out, and then I said, "Oh, by the way, the new Spider-Man came out. Let's go see Spider-Man now."
I was so mad. I'm like, wait, there are only 4 of them, and they're
20 minutes. Yeah, they're 20 minutes each. So, and how many episodes are there now? 6?
I haven't even gotten a chance to look because I've been trying to watch Sabrina, and get through that before anybody spoils it for me. So, but I will tell you a funny story really quickly. I was at San Diego Comic-Con with the Preacher panel press room, and Joe Gilgun, who plays Cassidy, didn't know that Graham McTavish was Dracula.
Oh, wow.
And so I asked Graham McTavish, have you given him any pointers since have you been doing any kind of hey, here's what a real Dracula or a vampire would do? And Joe Gilgun was like, wait, you're Dracula? And he's like, yeah. So I looked at Joe Gilgun and I asked him, who has the bigger fangs? And he just looks at me and goes, you know who, darling? And I'm like, yes. So that was hilarious. But yeah, they didn't know, either one of them, that, he didn't know that he was a vampire.
A lot of people didn't know that the actor who played Thorin Oakenshield from the Hobbit films, of course, is Trevor Belmont.
Oh, man. How could you not miss that voice? That's a Richard Armitage voice. He was also Francis Dollarhide in the last season of Hannibal.
Right, definitely. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is based on the Archie comic book. I don't want to call it a series because I don't even know if we got a 7th. We got a 7th issue, but then they didn't do anything after that. By Roberto Aguilera Sacasa and Robert Hack, and Roberto, of course, is a producer of the show.
Yeah, he actually developed it, and I those comics were fantastic. And they kind of came from the popularity of Afterlife with Archie, and now we've got, which I hope they utilize this into the series, the Jughead the Hunger, where Jughead's a werewolf, and then the Veronica series where she's a vampire. And I really dig that. I hope they kind of utilize that in either one of the shows.
Well, my only question is Veronica and Jughead in their own separate universes?
See, it's kind of odd how they're doing them. I mean, in the Jughead comics, for example, Betty is a werewolf hunter.
Okay, then it's a separate universe because the
Yeah,
Afterlife with
so
Archie.
I think they are.
Yeah,
I still
Afterlife
would
with
love
Archie
to
was
see
an
it.
apocalypse.
Right. I would love to see. I would still love to see it because I think they're neat, and I think Riverdale always made me think of a weird teenage version of Twin Peaks.
Oh, it totally is.
Yeah.
An overly hypersexualized version of Twin Peaks too,
Exactly.
because everyone is screwing around on that show and getting killed, or minor characters are getting killed off. I mean, God, the beginning of Riverdale, Archie is having an affair with his older teacher.
Miss Grundy, who in the comics is this old broad. They kind of do a nice little nod to that in an episode, but
because the actor who plays Archie, who plays Archie right now, when he was cast on the show, he was 17 years old, and that actress is in her 30s. So exactly like it should be, inappropriately wise, you know?
Exactly. But
She gets
the
killed
thing
off
I
pretty good, so.
Oh, she does. I was surprised that they actually did that. The thing with Chilling Adventures of Sabrina that I really dig, and they do this a lot in Riverdale, is you can tell that both of these series are done by massive horror geeks
Hmm.
and movie fans, and they sneak these little things in there. Like for example, the one of the more obvious ones, of course, is Jughead's dad's played by Skeet Ulrich, who was the killer in Scream. Spoiler.
Yeah.
So
For a
if
movie
you
almost over 20 years old. Okay, yeah.
yeah, if you don't know that by now, you don't deserve to be listening to this show. So
Damn right.
yeah, so what's funny is there's this one scene where, of course, he's talking at dinner and he makes this comment about scary movies, and I just, giggled like a schoolgirl. But then they do more subtle things, like in this last season at the cabin that they were staying at, the pillowcases were the prints of the rug from The Shining. I noticed that it's one of those little subtle things in the background, but like they use the rug design for the pillows at the cabin. So with Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, there's all kinds of cool little things that they worked in. Of course, like the movies that people are watching, like the Carnival of Souls. You'll see Night of the Living Dead's playing in the background. They've got posters from Hammer movies and things like that. But there's also nods to like Nightmare on Elm Street, where Sabrina's boyfriend's laying in bed wearing the same exact cutoff shirt Glenn is from Nightmare on Elm Street. So there's a lot of really cool things in this show, not just the neat premise, the great acting, but just little things that they work in that I really love.
I thought
I'm
the
a,
cinematography from the first 5 episodes that I've watched of the show, and yes, I have not watched the entire 10 episodes.
Either have I.
No, that's fine. We got other stuff we got to do. But the cinematography I thought was amazing, and I really thought it felt more like a movie cut up than a TV series.
Oh, I loved the weird surreal kind of way they've framed shots where it looks like things are out of focus, so you're more centered, but it looks like they're almost in their own little realm. And I don't know how to describe it. It just is really cool because they like distort the outside of the frame, so it's not quite a comic book, but it's more surreal. Like there's something going on here, or there's something not quite right. Something's off. I really, really dug that, and you're right. The just the way it's filmed, the witches' school, for example, that top-down shot where you see all the hexagons or octagons or everything that they've got, and it just is such a neat shot. And then just the design work of the creature effects, like the Dark Lord with the giant gaping maw on his chest, looks like something that I helped design a long time ago. But I love the design work of it. I love the look. It's creepy. It's really adult. Oh, and you thought Riverdale was adult? This is way more adult.
I don't know. Here's the thing, though. I think that now, all the actors on the show, including our stars, are... Well, sorry, majority of our actors, excuse me, because I don't think that Susie person is quite 18, but I might be wrong. I didn't research who she was. I don't know anything about her other than I think she's the transgender character of the show, right?
I think they haven't really. I haven't gotten anything about if she's just asexual or if she's trans, or if she's just just a girl that's a tomboy or something.
Right.
I haven't gotten to that part yet.
And that there are going to be other podcasts that cover that whole thing, and we're definitely just not going to get into it. Let's just say that. Yeah, the material that's on the show and on Riverdale. Now Riverdale's on the CW, which has become like the superhero channel. Is borderline like PG-13, borderline R. Now, on Riverdale, the characters are constantly having sex because it's teenage kind of soap opera show, but all the actors are in their 20s portraying teenagers in their underwear and in certain type of cam girl stuff like with Betty. And then on Sabrina, it's the same thing. And the characters are supposed to be like 15 or 16 years old. Sabrina turns 16 by episode 2. And there is a scene with her and Harvey kind of touching each other, looking for birthmarks in their underwear. And it's, it's very cutesy and stuff like that. There's a lot of scenes with Sabrina, obviously, in just a you know, in the slip underneath her dress that you know, women would wear. And that, as far as I've gotten in episode 5.
Well, my point is, and when I'm talking about it's very adult, is the Satanism.
Oh, okay. I
The
thought you were talking about
the
the adult, like,
no, no,
sexual
no, no.
material.
I mean, it's kind of a given. There's going to be sexualization in this show, but I'm talking about just the fact that there's cannibalism, and
Right.
that's there. That is very wonderfully worded by Miranda Otto, who is fantastic as Zelda, when she says about the corpse laying in front of her of the dead warlock. Oh, it's too bad they wanted an open casket. We haven't had long pig in a long time. And it's like,
Oh,
oh, oh, you eat people, you know?
yeah.
And so that's their the just some of the scary stuff that they do in this is a lot more, you know, where Archie is realistic, and yes, they've had serial killers and things like that. This has, you know, flat out demons. This has really extreme scenes of stuff. This has outright Satanism. This has, you know, it's very adult themes, and I can see this as it goes, because it's on Netflix, getting away with a lot more than Riverdale could, because it's Netflix.
Right.
and
Right.
and so they can do a lot more with that scary, with the gory stuff and things like that, you know, that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, they can go wherever they want with the sexuality to it, but this, you know, it's definitely got more oomph coming to it in regards to the scary and the more overt themes like cannibalism.
Right, and I think the end of the first volume, the only volume they've ever produced, the end of issue 6 or whatever, when you learn something, I'm not going to give it away, but you learn something big about Harvey, and I'm wondering if that's going to be incorporated into the show as well.
I have no doubt. And I mean, I have to say though about just the character actors that they have in this is just fantastic. Not only for example, Miranda Otto, who everybody's going to know as she's the badass that took down the Witch King, the head of the battlers in Middle Earth. In the Lord of the Rings trilogy, that's her.
Yep.
I am no man. Yeah, badass. So anyway, that she's in it. The other piece of geekery that I was like freaking out about is Lucy Davis, who everybody knows as the Diane from Shaun of the Dead, who is just fantastic in this, and she's now in Wonder Woman. By the way.
She plays Etta Candy,
yeah,
Steve Trevor's secretary.
She's Diane in Shaun of the Dead. Michelle Gomez, everybody knows her now from Doctor Who, is just fantastic in this. She's eaten scenery right and left, just like she did in Doctor Who. Richard Coyle, who was driving me nuts, trying to figure out who this guy was. He was in this great Irish horror movie called Grabbers that, if you haven't seen, is just fantastic. It's all about the only way to defeat these blood-sucking aliens that are trying to kill this village off the coast of Ireland is to get super drunk. That's the only way that you can keep away from them or not have them try to kill you. He's in that. He was also in a wonderful Johnny Depp movie called now I'm blanking on the name of it. Oh crap.
What
Damn it.
Yeah. By the way, did you notice the names of all the titles of the episodes?
I haven't noticed the names of the titles, but I noticed the names of the characters, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Dreams in the Witch House, The Burial, The Return Man, The Witching Hour, Feast of Feats, and Exorcism. They all sound like you.
Horror movies.
Yes, and by the way, if you go into IMDb, you will notice they have listings now for episodes 2.1 through 10 in 2019.
Yeah, they are going to be doing a second season of it.
Yep, they are. It's definitely up there right now. Excuse me.
but like some of the names that I noticed on the of the characters, you know, like Daniel Webster, that was kind of a given.
That was really cool, especially if you knew the history of the devil and Daniel Webster.
Exactly. And then George Hawthorne, like Nathaniel Hawthorne, for the principal, who's played by Bronson Pinchot.
Yes, yes. And we have, of course, we have from Doctor Who, the Master now turned Mistress due to the regeneration into a woman.
Yeah, well, I'm going to argue that one because I'm not going to go into my Doctor Whodom, but the Master was a body thief, so he
Ah,
could still,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
But yeah, Michelle Gomez was just fantastic, and
Chew that
like,
scenery up.
oh yeah, she does. And so like the other one I love is Nicholas Scratch, old
Yeah.
Nick, Mr. Scratch. I love that. So there are all these little, like I said, there's all these little snuck in things within the show, and I really, really loved it. I love the whole thing with Salem, how they've done the familiars.
I wish he would talk.
I know, but he doesn't need to.
I
He-
know,
well, he
but I'm
did
so
talk.
used to
He did
Salem being
talk
this
a
little
little.
wise ass on the teenage show from ABC.
It would take away from the realism.
Now you know that. Now you know Melissa Joan Hart went on to direct a movie about with a witch kind of theme to it, the remake of The Watcher in the Woods, starring
Yeah,
Angelica Houston, based on the Disney movie, now a Lifetime movie.
yeah, I actually got to do an interview with her about that at San Diego Comic-Con. Her mom is producing with her, and they were all there talking about it. And yeah, that was really fantastic. She's great. She's really cool. I dig her a lot. And I love Kiernan Shipka. I think I'm saying her name right. Who plays Sabrina in this? I think she's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, she got
I
started on Mad Men as the daughter of John Hamm's character.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you who like one of my favorite characters in the whole show is Ambrose. I think he's fantastic. He's funny. He's kind of a tragic character. I haven't gotten any further than the fourth episode, so I don't know where he's going. But he just is really great. He's good to look at, and he's a good actor. And I can't wait to hear more about his story and the whole reason why he's under house arrest and how actually old he is,
Right.
because we know now that that they don't age like normal people do, and I think that's going to be really interesting.
I think that's
But
always
I
been a thing with witches that they're immortal. In
Yeah, that
fiction,
comes
in
with the
fiction.
package.
Yeah.
I do like though too the entire Harvey angle. I like that whole dynamic with him and his brother and his father too. That's just an interesting story, and it's very relevant right now because um, there's a lot of topical things going on in this show, and I really dig that. And oh, go ahead.
Sorry. When do you think the show takes place?
I like that. I don't know.
Because Harvey, by the way, calls Sabrina when she's at school on a iPhone or at least a smartphone, and she's in a phone booth.
Yeah, but she's also at a witch school where they probably don't have a lot of technology.
Right, but it is funny that, in the first episode, you don't really get a clue until you see someone using a computer, and you're like, wait a minute. I thought, because at the beginning of the episode, the girls, Sabrina and her two besties, are coming out of Night of the Living Dead, which premiered in 1969.
Well, and then they also have all these old cars everywhere.
Right.
It's
It's like Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like it's a town out of time in a way, and I think that's kind of neat about where the setting is, because it's like it's separate from Riverdale. It's separate from I can't keep track of all the school or not school but city names, but it's on it. It's almost like it's the town that time forgot. So you've got like Cole being there. It's almost like, did the witches do something to sort of slow time here? So some things get in, but other things don't. And it's kind of cool to see, kind of not know, and but I do like the fact that you've got this whole thing where you've got a coal mine there, and you've got a guy that's his life, and he's trying to keep that going and pull his sons into it, and the one is trying to escape from that to do what he wants, and he's actually absolutely terrified because he saw the actual devil in the mine. I like that. I like the whole thing about the band of books, and fighting that. And I love that they called the girls' club Wicca. I thought that was nice. But I really love how they've done it, and kind of threaded all these interesting plot points into the show.
The comic book definitely has a different type of story arc going through it from beginning to the 6 issues that were published. Again, I never read issue 7, but if you read the comic book, there are a lot more EC Comics horror elements in the comic book than there are in the TV series.
Oh yeah, well, just the stuff with her father, and it's a lot darker, because so far we know the dad asked to have her name put in the book, but they're kind of making him out to be sort of a good guy. But in the book, he's not a good guy. There's no good in the dad, as far as I remember reading the comic book. Dad's not a nice man. And I don't know how that's going to play out in the show. If you find out that he did the things that he did in the comic and in the show, if they're going to change that. But yeah, I find it really interesting too right now. If you go to like Best Buy, or I actually found it at my local grocery store, they've released a DVD of about close to 2 hours of the animated Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yikes. Was that a good show? I don't remember, but I remember seeing early animation and being just a little really cartoony.
No, that's exactly what it is. It was back, I believe this came out in like the 70s, maybe.
Oh, you're not talking about the one that came out after Melissa Joan Hart's show.
No, this is the original that was based on the Archie comics.
Oh, okay. Because there was a one with the Melissa Joan Hart show where Melissa's sister plays Sabrina, and she's actually the voice of her 2 aunts.
Yeah, no. This is the original where she's it's the actual Archie's, and there's this whole line of retro cartoons that they've done that have glow in the dark art on the cover for Halloween this year that they did, and they're actually not expensive at all. I mean, you can pick this up at, I think, Best Buy for close to like $5. And if you really want to like learn where all of this came from, and then go to look in the mirror and go, what the hell happened? Because how is this so wholesome, and what am I watching now? You can watch this because it's kind of neat to see all of this is the source material. This is where this came from.
Cool. I will have to check it out because I've never seen the 70s Sabrina cartoon series.
Yeah, don't be expecting great animation.
No, I wasn't. I definitely was not. But I remember an interview with Greg Berlanti before Sabrina was going to launch during the 2nd season of Riverdale, saying that it is completely possible for them to do a crossover, and because Sabrina is immortal, and let's just, of course, again, we don't really know when Sabrina's taking place. The Riverdale gang needing to go to the old Spellman mortuary for something, you know what I mean? And it's run by Sabrina, currently like looking like she does today. You know what I mean? And that's when I said to you online that I would love to see, because Archie, I would love to see just, it's like Archie's been paired up with many different women, but I don't remember a story where Archie went out with Sabrina on a date or had a relationship. I mean, he's been out with the Pussycats, he's been out with Betty, Veronica, and Cherry, you know what I mean? But I don't remember Sabrina. Now, you could leave it in the comment section saying, yeah, it happened in this issue, but I don't remember it being a big storyline.
Well, and that's what's funny, because on the back of the DVD, there's an episode of this that shows them out having milkshakes. So he definitely, I think, dated her briefly, but it was in the old comics.
Like the original drawing kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what this cartoon is all based on. Which I love how they made her. They actually worked that into the title sequence. I gotta say, by the way, the title sequence that they have created for this show is beautiful. I love it, and I love that one. They have one little section dedicated to the original look of Sabrina. The rest of it's obviously based off of the new comics, but I absolutely loved it. I was hoping Riverdale would do like my one hope was for them to do a Sabrina episode, just to like as a Halloween special. I couldn't have wished for something as good as this. I'm so happy.
But I think it was like the first issue or the second issue of the actual individual floppies, as they're called, not the trade paperback. But there were some reprints of original Sabrina comics in the back of one of issue 1 or 2, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think they did that. Yeah.
Okay, and the original Sabrina comics, by the way, including the original comic book published here in the back of this one, Madam Satan, which I believe is who the Misty Doctor Who. That's who she is, right? Madam Satan.
Probably. They're making her out to be like some sort of succubus, but they don't give her a name.
Okay, so also I would love to see something happen between her and Bronzo Pinchot's character. Oh my god, just
I
to
would
die.
I would die.
Even if she kills him, I mean, he's got like, according to IMDb, he's in 17 episodes, so like, he clearly lives to season 2. But that doesn't mean he can't be possessed by a demon that she wants to bang.
Well, he was already possessed by the Dark Lord. I thought that was random. Like, what the hell's going on? Oh,
Yeah.
he's possessed. I was waiting for spiders to erupt out of him. You know.
As much as I love the aunts in this one, by the way, I totally miss the aunts of the original show, Zelda and Hilda. Zelda being obviously always the more, like, not evil because it was ABC, but she was always the more mischievous. She had the multiple conquests of her, 100,000 years of being alive, and Hilda was more the trying to always, like, not be so bad with her magic and such, you know what I mean?
Well, this was great because I was not, even though I saw it in the trailer, it still floored me that she actually killed her.
Right.
And she had to dig herself up out of the ground. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But those original Sabrina comics, like I mentioned, are actually a little dark for Archie, I think, at that time period, those being published. You know what I mean? And I don't know what the exact date of publication those were, if they were before the Comic Code destroyed horror comics until the 70s or not. But yeah, those comics were a little bit on the more darker side than Archie's normal flair of hijinks.
Oh yeah, no, and that was the thing that I you got to give props to Archie and the Archie comics and how they've grown, and that's why it's so neat to see this stuff going on in the series as well as, like the whole thing with Kevin, the character of Kevin, and being gay, and God, Archie dies saving his life.
Kevin,
in the
yes.
comic books.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say Kevin and Sabrina. Wait, what? Oh, no. Kevin and Archie. Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
actually like his character in the comic book more than I like his character on the show. I don't think his character on the show, unfortunately, is as developed as he is in the comics. Why? Because he's also into, what are we talking about? Comic books. And they never mention that on Riverdale. It's like, oh my God, I love this character. Oh, wait, they just made him their stereotypical token gay character. Yay.
yeah. Yeah,
No.
well, but he does. You got to give him props though, because they do tackle a lot of the stuff that goes on with young gay kids in the show, and I cannot stress enough how awesome it was that they did Carrie the musical. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was very cool and very bad for anybody involved in it.
Yeah, true. It was not a good time for people.
Right. But thank you again for joining me, Jessica, to talk about this comic book series. We had touched on comics a little bit when you came on the show a couple weeks ago with Robin and Heather. And by the way, do you happen to know, because at the time we're recording this, we are still kickstarting the In Search of Darkness 80s documentary until I think a week from today is when the Kickstarter ends, right?
We are going through November 4th,
Okay.
and as of right now, we are, oh boy, we're really close to 300%.
Wow.
We're only like, not even $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so let's see. I'm going to do some math. Pardon me. So
And then a year from now, Jessica and I will have the comic book
okay,
documentary.
we're $11,000 shy of 300%.
Oh, awesome. But I have been joking about this, and I think it would be an amazing idea because there is nobody doing one. A documentary on horror comic, the history of horror comics from the EC Comics to today. And
I would love to do that.
Yes, going over
that would be fantastic.
Yes, and I think I thought it would be hilarious if one of the tiers was called Seduction of the Innocent. Because what destroyed the horror comic book industry until the 70s?
The code.
The comic book code. No, not just the comic book code, but the Insurrection of the Innocent.
This is true. This is true. And I have to add this really quickly because we'd been talking about Tomb of Dracula.
Right.
And he was in awe of the fact that I'm a girl and I read Tomb of Dracula, as did my sister. So there's at least two of us.
And it has nothing to do with her being a girl. I just never really ever met any women who would read Tomb of Dracula.
I could do one better. I actually own the anime that they did way back of it.
Yep. Based on I think it was the Golden Child story arc or something. Yeah.
Where his son comes back. It's Janus, the son of Dracula, and he comes back as an angel and kills him.
Yeah. And it's funny considering that that would actually by Tomy that would predate Dracula's appearance on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Exactly. Gosh, I have that too. But just to let you guys know, if you are interested, and you really should watch it because it's fantastic. The image of Dracula in those Tomb of Dracula comics was based off of Jack Palance.
Right.
And Jack Palance would go on to play Dracula for Dan Curtis in one of the best versions of Dracula I've seen. And that is actually streaming right now on Amazon Prime.
Oh,
so
awesome.
So if you have Amazon Prime, you can set yourself up for a nice night of vampires, because not only is that on there, Twins of Evil's on there. They have a couple other good vampire films, but Jack Palance's Dracula has to be seen because there's all this Dark Shadows-esque things in it that are really fantastic. And Palance is just the man.
Now,
he is a ass in this.
I believe there is a Blu-ray as well as you can hunt down, and of that same movie. And you'd mentioned Dan Curtis. Great little quick segue before you go. I had just found out in the newest issue of Horror Hound, which has the Hocus Pocus girls on the cover, The Night Stalker and The Night Strangler by Dan Curtis, the Darren McGavin movies, are now on Blu-ray.
That is my jam, yes. And the Blu-ray of Dracula is available. I actually did a video review of it when it came out a couple years ago. But yes, Carl Kojak, Darren McGavin, the grandfather of the X-Files, if you will.
Pop from The Christmas Story, for anyone who's not figuring out who we're talking about. Pops from Christmas Story.
What's cooler about that is I've watched the whole third season of Stan vs. Evil, and they do a massive nod to the Night Stalker in that, because Dana Gould is a massive Night Stalker fan. And so, yeah, if you have not seen The Night Stalker and The Night Strangler, they are some of the best TV movies ever made. And if I'm not mistaken, The Night Stalker is one of the most popular of all time.
The highest rated television movie of all time. One of the highest rated television movies of all time.
Exactly. So check those out.
Yeah. Weird thing I found out. I think I knew about it beforehand, but like a year or two ago on the TV series The Big Bang Theory, Wolowitz's mother, who was never seen on camera because she was a obesity joke, she off screen was always yelling at him in a very kind of weird stereotypical Jewish kind of accent. That actress who voiced her, who did unfortunately pass away, was a recurring character on the Night Stalker television series.
Yep, I believe she was. Yeah, and that's, I mean, that show was one of my favorites. It was one of my favorites growing up.
Did you?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, the Night Stalker, I grew up, like, I was 4 or 5 years old, running around with a tape recorder, making up, there's somewhere out there's cassette tapes of this, little 4-year-old Jessica making up stories about running around on adventures with her boyfriend, Carl Kolchak.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that show was one of my building blocks of my love of horror.
Did you ever, by the way, read, I don't remember who wrote it, but it's in the Night Stalker big old compendium book of short stories, where Carl is called to Maine by Barnabas Collins.
Yes, there's a comic book of that too. The company, I can't remember the name that released the comics, but they did some crossovers.
Moonshine or something.
Moonshine or something like that. And they did some fantastic comic books of the Night Stalker, and they'd had him meet Barnabas. I think there was some other crossovers as well.
Oh my!
And they were just super books.
Both the Night Stalker films, by the way, came out this month. Like I said, new audio commentary by film historian Tim Lucas, new interview with director John Moxey, new interview with composer Bob Colbert, and then all of the material that was on the DVD.
Yeah, and a real fun fact, if you watch those movies, they get away with a lot in those movies. There's some definite things that I didn't pick up on when I was a child that I now go, oh.
I gotta get these now. I gotta drop $50 on Blu-rays because these are like $25 a piece, and these look great. All that new bonus material.
I know, it's like crack. It's crack.
Now let's give the TV series the respect it deserves too.
We don't talk of the remake.
No. We're talking about the original TV series. Needs a better release than the DVD, just the bare bones DVDs they got. If you guys can find the people behind the movies, then get you. There is material out there to stick on a proper HD release of the TV. Because by the way, these films, if you're a fan of the Night Stalker TV series and the two films, these are in HD now, so they have been cleaned up and are no longer that whatever type
black,
of negative.
grainy,
Right. Like Batman the Animated Series is finally coming on HD Blu-ray, and they've cleaned up all the animation from the stock that was used to create that for the Fox network back in the 90s as well.
Exactly.
So.
Yep. So definitely get those.
Yes, definitely. Well, again, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and we will keep in touch as our Kickstarter continues until next Sunday.
Yes. Go vote. Go back this. Go back it now. Go vote too. Go back it now. We're good. We're open through November 4th, and we're hitting all these stretch goals. It's going to be some amazing stuff that we're going to add into this, and it's 80shorrordoc.com. 80shorrordoc.com. Go back it now. You won't be disappointed.
Absolutely.